welcome to the November edition of Our Faith, Our Diocese. I'm Dan Gallagher. We come to you today from the Scranton Cultural Center, site of the annual Thanksgiving dinner and family-to-family food basket program. In our opening segment, we'll talk with Sister Ann Walsh, Director of Friends of the Poor, and Linda Robeson and her son Ryan, the new directors of Family to Family, to see how both of these programs are doing all they can to ensure that the elderly, lonely, and less fortunate have every opportunity to enjoy a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. Sister, for the benefit of people who have never attended the Thanksgiving dinner, why do you consider this such a special evening? How would you describe it?
Well, I think by the time we're ready to serve the dinner, it's like a magical experience, and it's a miracle for me that it all comes together. But to see our guests come in and be greeted by our volunteers, for the atmosphere, for the centerpieces, for the music, for the delicious food and the community that they share, it's just wonderful. And many people have said to me, oh, this is the first time I ever came. I never knew it was so great. And they make new friends, and for some others, I think it's the only time that they maybe have the opportunity to come, have dinner out, and share a meal with friends.
Sister, again, for this year's dinner, you're looking at serving close to 1,700 people. In order to make it a reality, what does it take in terms of donations and people helping out?
Well, it is a huge endeavor, and I think it really is the biggest event that we do all year. Tried and true, we have 70 30-pound turkeys. It's even hard for me to say that. 700 pounds of potatoes, then the sweet potatoes. It's the whole meal and all the trimmings. But what surrounds it is the setup, all of the little things that go into it, like the cream and sugar and butter and etc. Then we have the supplies that that we need also, and the cleanup. I can't thank enough the cleanup crew of all of what we need to be able to do that. It's from the sublime to the ridiculous. Heavy-duty garbage bags, is all a part of what we need to make this Thanksgiving dinner really happen.
We no sooner finish cleaning up from the dinner, and then the next morning we're back at the Cultural Center, getting ready for Family to Family. Linda, having worked with the Burney family for so many years, I know how much time and work is involved in putting Family to Family together. Why did you and Ryan decide to take on that responsibility?
Well, having volunteered with the program for many years, we certainly had an appreciation for what they were doing, and we really enjoyed serving and passing out the food and everything. So honestly, the opportunity came at a perfect time because we were both looking for something that we could do together to serve the community. And, honestly, after some deep prayer and thought, Mary Lou and Sister approached me, and it just seemed to be the answer to my prayers. And like I said, it's something that Ryan and I can do as equals together, and to me that means a great deal that we can carry it on as a family.
Linda, as I recall, when the Burney family started this program going back some 29 years ago, I think they gave out close to 600 baskets. How far has this program grown over the years? Do you think the need is as great today as it's ever been?
I do. A lot of people have already come up to me and asked me how they can get a dinner or what they need to do to qualify for a dinner, or certainly we've had a lot of people asking us how they can help. But I believe the need is as great as ever. We plan and hope to give out over 3,000 baskets for the program.
In making this program a reality, what do you need in terms of donations, and more importantly, in terms of volunteers?
The donation is $25 to be able to supply a dinner to another family, but we will take whatever amount people can give. The dollar that you send is just as important as the $25 that you send. And as far as volunteers, we generally get a lot of volunteers first thing in the morning, a lot of the school children and things. We're probably in need of people to volunteer in the afternoon hours. That would probably be one of our needs right now.
Year after year, we're asking the community to lend their support to Family. Has this community ever let you down?
No. The outpouring, this community is just so supportive of everything that we do. And even as soon as I became involved, people have already handed me money. You know, we'll do whatever we can to help you. I had a gentleman hand me $25 in the store the other day. So I think that people are just so willing to help because they see the need as much as we do.
Linda, every year hundreds of people are turning out for Family to Family. Do you think most people would be surprised to see the wide range of people that are there waiting for this particular handout?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and you do have people who you know that really need it. You have people who have just recently lost a job, or they're maybe laid off for a week or two and they just can't catch up. They can't afford to have a dinner for their entire family. So this provides them with that security that they have everything so that they can have their family over. But yeah, it's not really the people that you think are coming for the dinner. It's really a wide range of people.
Sister, whenever I think of Family to Family and I think of this Thanksgiving dinner, the one person I always think of is Sister Adrienne Barrett, who started it all so many years ago. Do you think this year these events will take on a little bit more of a significance because of the fact that we just lost Sister Adrienne?
I really think that's the truth, because when I think Thanksgiving, it is synonymous with Sister Adrienne. I think it was one of the first community meals that she started, and actually started it 10 years before Friends of the Poor was founded. So it was near and dear to her heart. And as long as I've been at Friends of the Poor, she's been vitally involved in the planning and come to attend it as many years as she could. So our hearts are heavy at this time with the loss, but we know that she is with us in spirit. We have a new presence, and she will always be with us, particularly at the Thanksgiving dinner.
Linda, as we reflect on the legacy of Sister Adrienne Barrett, do you think she is still serving as an inspiration to you and Ryan in the work you're now doing with Family to Family?
Yes, she is. Mm-hmm. She is. I just so greatly admired her, and as much as I admire Sister Ann. So yes, to be able to help and continue on with a program that she founded is such an honor for me, and I believe for Ryan. Yes, I'm very honored to be able to carry on.
Sister, every year as we begin that week of Thanksgiving, we always started off on a note of prayer with an interfaith service. This year again, it will be at St. Peter's Cathedral. Why is that such an important part of this whole tradition?
I think it's the best way to begin what we're doing for Thanksgiving. We begin with praise and thanksgiving. And I think ask for God's blessing on all that we are about to do. And I think it really is so much a part of what our mission is, you know, bringing together in friendship those who have a desire to give with those who have a need for assistance. And in prayer, that's what we do. We're grateful for all those who want to give, and we pray for the needs of all of those who come to us, that we can be with them, particularly at Thanksgiving time. And the Scranton Area Ministerium is always there for us to coordinate our interfaith prayer service, and we're grateful for that.
Linda, one last question. When you think about how you and Ryan will be making a difference in the lives of people who maybe otherwise wouldn't have a Thanksgiving celebration, how do you think it's going to enrich your own celebration of Thanksgiving? In
the most basic terms, because I'm doing God's will. You know, I want to try and do things for God's glory. And, you know, God asks us to take care of the sick and the poor. And I just believe that that we've been called to help and to do this, and it just fills me with a great deal of joy to be able to help in this small way.
Ryan, again, as I mentioned earlier with your mom, Family to Family takes an incredible amount of time and work. Why were you and your mom so excited about taking this program over?
Well, honestly, it's a pretty big honor for somebody who's kind of started this program from the ground up and had it running so successfully for 25 years to put their faith in us. I mean, that's quite the honor. It really means a lot to us that she thinks that highly of us, and that she thinks we're able to, carry on this program and hopefully expand it a little more. And I don't know, hopefully we don't let her down.
Ryan, when you consider how many families in this area are benefiting from your program, why is it such a special feeling to know that you and your mom are making a difference in their lives?
I mean, it's important, just because we're in charge of the program doesn't mean that we're any better or greater than, the people who are receiving the meals. And it's important that if we have a Thanksgiving meal, they have one too. Everybody deserves the same in life, so we want to make sure that we get that to them.
And knowing that your efforts are going to make a difference in the lives of other people, do you think it's going to make your celebration of Thanksgiving here at home with Mom a little bit more special?
I don't know. My mom's turkey's pretty good to begin with, so it's already a little special. But it'll definitely give it a little bit more significance, a little bit more meaning.
Ryan, I know that one of the newer developments for Family to Family is this website. Can you tell me a little bit about this and how it's benefiting the program?
Yeah, we have a website running now. It's familytofamilythanksgiving.org, and on there you can make donations. It tells a little bit about our mission and what we're really trying to do. And there's also an option on there now to buy a t-shirt, whether it's a gift for Thanksgiving, for somebody special. It's a great way to promote our program and get the word out there. It's also a great way to support it. 100% of the profits go to Family to Family as well. So if you feel generous, donate, get a t-shirt, and help us out.
Earlier, I talked about Sister Adrienne Barrett and how she has been such a great inspiration for both of these programs. For you personally, does she serve as a role model as you take on this new responsibility with Family to Family?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she was very fearless in getting this program started and just had all the faith in the world. And I think it's a great role model for us to try and follow her example.
We come to you now from St. Monica's Parish here in West Wyoming, where close to 200 parish leaders from around the diocese gathered to hear a presentation by Sherry Waddell. In addition to being a well-known speaker, Sherry has also authored several books, including the bestseller, Forming Intentional Disciples. In our next segment, we'll see how Sherry is helping bring others closer to Christ so that they, in turn, can draw others closer to Him.
Because we talk about dropping your nets. The scripture passage that Father read this morning before we started was Jesus meeting Peter and Andrew, Simon and Andrew on the Sea of Galilee, and said, "Come follow me." And scripture says they abandoned their nets and they followed him. We talk about dropping your nets as the transition into discipleship.
Sherry, for the benefit of faithful who are not familiar with this whole premise of forming intentional disciples, how would you describe your ministry and the primary message?
Basically just helping Catholics move from being merely cultural Catholics or notional Catholics or Catholic because I was Irish or Polish or Italian or I grew up, my mother made me, to being someone who is deliberately seeking to follow Jesus as his disciple in the midst of his church. That's what we mean by, intentional, like conscious and deliberate as an adult, as the church is calling us to do.
Now, you only have them for a few short hours. If they leave here today with nothing else, what are you hoping they will take with them?
That there's more, and that it's personal, and that God loves them, and Christ is calling them to walk with him, to walk through life with him, and to follow him, and that is the way to the joy and the meaning and the significance that they're looking for, that they're longing for. And so there's so much more out there that the church is calling us to, and that is our heritage as Catholics.
And basically what you're saying today is that even though these are faithful people who are probably the cream of the crop in our diocese, they still in their own rights have to be evangelized in order to evangelize others?
Every one of us has to make a decision. We can't just be born into this. And even activity at the church level isn't the same as my lived relationship with God. They're both and. We want all the ways we serve the church to flow out of our lived relationship with God. That's the way it was intended to be.
Bob, obviously you were excited about being part of this seminar today, but tell me about it. What do you think you're getting out of it personally?
Well, I came to the seminar today to help educate myself a little bit and to assist in our ongoing adult initiative at our parish, St. Peter's in Wellsboro. We've started adult education seriously in January, and we hope to expand that into next year to really involve the entire parish, again, in firing up the base of people there at the church, and this Forming Intentional Disciples ties in perfectly with that.
When you think about the last few hours and the message that Sherry has been sharing with you, what do you think you've learned today?
What I've learned is that we have a lot of work to do in the trenches in our parishes to get that, 95% of the people who are faithful Catholics who go, but could do a lot more and really help, the church grow and expand and be an exciting place.
Why do you think seminars like the one today are so important as far as helping us in the work that we are doing on the front lines?
Well, I think it's important for any of us who are trying to do what we're doing, whether it's adult education or bringing new people into the church or bringing people back into the church, to be excited about it and to feel that there's a support base out there of other people within our diocese and across the country.
One last question. I've heard an awful lot about Sherry Waddell over the years. What do you think of this lady and her presentation?
Well, I think she's doing fantastic work, and she's a great presenter. It's been fascinating morning, and I'm looking forward to the afternoon.
Donna, I know there are a lot of people across the diocese like yourself who are excited about today, but why? What do you think you're getting out of this presentation?
Well, I'm like really, it's amazing when you do something that you weren't anticipating on doing, and the gift that it is, because I was so looking forward to sleeping in today, and I ended up coming, and I've heard a lot about this workshop, and I was hoping to attend at some point, so here it happened. But I think that it's something that you don't ever look at yourself as an evangelizer. So really to see that we could do it at whatever, our walk in life is, whatever our vocation is, that we're all capable of doing this. So I think that listening to this wonderful woman and understanding that we're all works in progress, that we could learn to be active listeners and really try to meet people where they are, try not to judge or, just try to be a friend. So I think that's what I'm getting out, and hopefully I can take that back to my parish.
Speaking of that, do you think the points that Sherry is sharing with you will make a difference in your own efforts to evangelize and get more people drawn into the church and closer to Christ?
Yeah, I think that I think they're going to see that there's like a change in me, that that something has been sparked a little bit more deeply in me, and I hope that I can convey to people that I'm approachable, and that that we can have conversations, and it doesn't have to be anything very deep, but just that idea that there are others out there, that you don't think of that in your own parish, that there might be other people that are coming and seeking. I think that people are there because they want to be there, and I never thought of the people that are there that are thinking possibly of leaving. So I really think that it has opened my eyes a great deal, and that I think I will be more in tune to people, and maybe be more apt to open my mouth a little bit and be more welcoming, or just sparking some type of conversation, because maybe there isn't that community that I think that there is. It just has really been an eye-opener for me this morning.
And then...
Why were you so excited about being part of this seminar today? What do you think you've been learning today?
Well, the advantage we have as Catholics is we're always given opportunities to grow in our faith and in our knowledge. And we're excited about the new initiatives we're kicking off at our parish, and the prospect that presents for basically taking what is now a very good parish and making it a great parish. A parish where all of our people or the majority of them are on fire with the Holy Spirit, and just radiating that energy, that positive spiritual energy into the world, attracting other people. And it's exciting because it's kind of the beginning of another journey. We're always given the opportunity to continue our journey in the faith, and this is the way we see this training this morning.
And do you think what you're hearing, the message from Sherry today, is it really going to help you in your efforts when you're going back to St. Peter's, in your efforts to rejuvenate that parish?
Well, it's absolutely critical to have the words that help us to articulate what we sense spiritually. Oftentimes We can discern things, but we're not able to articulate them. And all of Sherry's experience and her great ability to share that experience in a teaching context really gives us not only the tools, but the words that we need to help share it. You know, in order to share, you have to have the words. So we're excited about learning the words, understanding the context. The whole concept of the difference between a parish that sees itself in a maintenance mode as opposed to a mission mode is absolutely vital to getting the idea. You know, going back to the beginning, back to what the early church had, that energy, the first 300 years when they were all being persecuted, killed, and still standing up for their faith. So we're looking forward to seeing that same kind of energy, that same kind of spirit back into our parish.
I think we're getting out the spirit to bring revival back to our parish, which we all could use. I love where we come from. We have a very active group, but we need to bring it back.
And do you think the message that Sherry is sharing with you folks today is going to help you in those efforts?
Absolutely, absolutely. She has such a love for coming back to bringing the church back to where it should be, and that's what I think that we need. We really do, but we have to work, as she says. We have to work at it.
There's no one secret to it, but what do you think is the one step we could take in an effort to try and bring people back to the fold and closer to Christ?
I think what the message was that hit me the most was we have to meet people where they are and find out where they're coming from, and not try to find out too much information right away, but slowly bring it to them.
On Saturday, November 28th, 17 men from around the Diocese of Scranton will be ordained as permanent deacons. In our next segment, we're going to take a closer look at the permanent diaconate and see how these men are making a difference in the lives of thousands of faithful across our diocese. Joining me now, it's a pleasure to welcome Monsignor David Bohr, who serves our diocese as Diocesan Secretary for Clergy Formation. Next, I'd like to welcome one of those men who will be ordained on November 28th, Mr. Walter Janoski, who is a member of St. Barbara's Parish in Exeter, also a business professor at Luzerne County Community College and at Penn State. Walter, Monsignor, thank you so much for being here. Monsignor, maybe you could give us a little bit of background on the Permanent Diaconate program and how this really has enjoyed a new resurgence since the Second Vatican Council.
Well, it was at the Second Vatican Council that the bishops there called for the restoration of the permanent diaconate, sort of as a fullness of holy orders, which is really three orders, bishop, priest, deacon, to reestablish that, and to have other men, even though they might be married, to be sacramental signs of the Church's work of service of Jesus Christ as who came to serve and not to be served.
Now, Walter, like so many of the candidates that are getting ready for ordination later this month, you have a full-time job, you have a family, you have other responsibilities, but yet something was tugging away at your heart. You were saying, you know, there is something missing. Why did you decide to answer God's call to the permanent diaconate?
It's kind of difficult to answer. I don't think you get the call right away. It takes time through the formation process that they put together. In the beginning, I believe all 17 of us were very scared of the coursework, of what was expected. But with the help of Monsignor Bohr, with our spiritual directors, our formation advisors, it's a whole group of people that Monsignor puts together, meeting with them on a continual basis, trying to extract from us our spirituality, where we're at in life, where we're at spiritually, mentally, where we believe we can be. Over a period of time, I think the call gets stronger. And as I mentioned earlier, you get that call on a continual basis. So all of a sudden, when you talk to your spiritual advisor, I think they sense where you're at. When you talk to your formation advisor, they sense the work that you're doing in the parish. And all of a sudden you feel that commitment to God, that commitment to spirituality, that you really want to help people. You want to go out and be that guiding force to the community, to help in the diaconate, to help the priest, to help the parish, to kind of overcome some adversity and grow. It's an amazing program.
Yeah. Well, it's just a tug in the heart originally. It's sort of like the call to the priesthood. You feel there's an attraction there, and
we're not quite sure. Not quite sure. Not quite sure. So. It's that if. You have an if almost all the way through. Am I sure? Am I sure? Just a little quick little thing. Last weekend we were going to Mass after our course day, and one of my fellow candidates said to me, do you feel like you're really ready for this? And I says, you have your moments, and we're a month away, and you still have your moments, but yet that tug is still there. You want to be there, you want to do it, but that if it still hangs. And I think that, as a group, we've really bonded well together, and we are pushing ourselves through the adversity, I guess you have at that very end, because there's adversity still there.
There's never an absolute certitude. I used to tell the seminarians when I was rector of St. Pius X, you should be at least 51% certain.
How about 50 and a half?
Monsignor, when I think about the ministry of permanent deacons, to me it's a shining example of what servant leadership is all about, which Bishop Imbera frequently talks about. And for the most part, the people sitting in the pews, they may see their permanent deacons during the course of a Sunday liturgy, but I don't think they realize the amount of work they put in serving the church and God's people the rest of the week. Tell me a little bit about that and the unique ministry of the permanent deacon.
The deacons are the servant leaders who help, by being a sacramental sign of that servant leadership, help us to go out and to serve in the mission that Christ is calling every Christian to. And the deacons often do prison ministry, they do visit hospitals, nursing homes, soup kitchens. You've been in a number of different ministries in the parish. And
well, Monsignor Kelly set us up for the St. Vincent Paul Soup Kitchen, the one in Scranton, prison ministry, the veterans homes, visiting sick. And that was another advent of the formation to understand, to go out with the public, to go out to see people, and to envision what your life would be like as a servant leader. And then in your own home parish, visiting the sick in the hospitals, the nursing homes, working with the soup kitchen, feeding the ones that are used to be in Vision, now called St. Teresa's Haven, understanding the homeless, understanding where they come from. That too becomes a part of that formation process of understanding what a servant leader is. And it does help us tremendously, and that was a good part of the program.
Walter, why do you enjoy that aspect of the permanent diaconate, being able to go out and actually be of service to people in need?
I can tell you a real quick story. At St. Vincent de Paul Soup Kitchen, there was a young black man sitting there one day. He was dressed up in a black coat, beautiful pink shirt, all by himself. And I went over, sat down, I said, "Why are you dressed up?" He says, "Well, I'm looking for a job." I said, what did you do in life?" "Well, I'm nothing but a dishwasher, but I want to learn how to cook." So we talked about a half hour, and I said to him, how you get started is you go back to dishwashing and tell the restaurant you want to learn how to cook, you want to learn how to prepare salads. I never saw him again. He got a job. And from that point, and that's part of servant leadership, helping people through a time of trouble, getting them over that little hump that they have to have, and helping them live a productive life. And from what I gather, he's had the job now for 1.5 years, which is good.
At the end of our lives, according to Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25, we're not going to be asked catechism questions. Jesus tells us what we're going to be asked. I was hungry, did you feed me? I was thirsty, did you give me something to drink? I was naked in prison, did you visit me? Did you clothe me? And so forth. So the deacons really focus on that particular role.
Walter, as you reflect back on the last few years of your formation, I know many of the candidates that have been walking this journey with you, and there's some incredible men that are going to be ordained with you, and I'm sure there's been a certain level of camaraderie that has developed over the course of the last 4.5 years. But what has that formation process been like for you personally?
It's actually made my faith, my spirituality stronger. It's got me to the point where I understand more about myself, who I am, how I could be a servant leader to people around me. I've acquired quite a few friends, known a lot more of the priests, their nuances, I guess you could say, which actually, again, when you talk about spirituality, helps you internally to become a better person. And it's one of those things that as the diaconate the formation goes through, you do begin to know more about yourself. You begin to know more about why God gave you your talents, why He gave you the graces that you have been given. And it's those talents that you'd like to use in your life. And that's part of what the diaconate allows you to do, is to allow you to use those talents.
One last thing, when we're looking at this program, obviously it's not just sacrifices that you're making, but you're also bringing your family into this process as well, your wife and your children. And I think you said you have 3 or 4 children yourself?
I have 4.
4 children. How important is that aspect of it, having the love and support of your wife and children when you make that decision that you want to become a permanent deacon?
It's extremely important to have your support of the wife to help you through the program. I was fortunate. My wife came to many of the classes with me. She has supported me all the way through, and that is the focal point, because you have another person behind you supporting you. As far as the family goes, my children, my son and my 3 daughters, they too have supported me. There have been events in my life that I haven't been able to attend. They said, "Dad, this is important to you. You stay with you stay with that event. You go where you have to go. We support you." And over time, the family begins to bind together and realize that this is a commitment not only to me, but also a commitment to the family, because we're all in it together to serve God. And I think that becomes a very focal point of your family. It actually strengthens your family, which is a good thing.
One last question. When you think of how many splendid men we have been blessed with over the last several years that are out there doing the work of Christ, how blessed do you think we are here in the Diocese of Scranton with the caliber of men who have become permanent deacons?
Oh, very well blessed. They've done, in the 22 years since we ordained the first class, they've done great work. I don't even know where to begin to describe it. Well, one way might be that we were a bit concerned when we ordained the first class. There was 24 deacons in that first class, if we'd have placements for everyone. Not every pastor wanted one. We thought, maybe they're going to take away ministries I'm supposed to be doing. But now we have them asking for deacons, so I think that's an indication of the work they're doing.
On Monday, November 23rd, musicians from around the diocese will be gathering here with Bishop Ambera at St. Peter's Cathedral in Scranton for a special Mass of Thanksgiving for all those involved in music ministry. Joining me today to discuss this special service in greater detail, it's a pleasure to welcome Mr. David Beloga. Dave is the Director for Worship for the Diocese of Scranton. Next, I'd like to welcome Doreen Ignatovich, who is the Director of Choirs for Our Lady of Fatima Parish in Wilkes-Barre. Doreen, Dave, thank you so much for being here today. Dave, this Mass, I remember years ago, we used to celebrate it several years ago here in the cathedral. Why did you and your fellow musicians here in the diocese feel so strongly about resurrecting this Mass for musicians?
Well, Dan, we felt like it would be an excellent opportunity for musicians from all over the diocese to come together once again through our local chapter of the National Association of Pastoral Musicians, an effort to get them together to celebrate their ministry in the presence of our bishop here in the diocese, and to have that incredible experience of a church filled with people singing, participating in the liturgy, and really getting at the heart of what their ministry is all about in serving the liturgy through music.
Doreen, why is that particular service such a special one? When you come into this cathedral and not only hear incredible music from the choir loft, but then everybody who was in the pews joining in and in celebration, why is it such a wonderful experience?
Oh, it's so uplifting. Anybody who has experienced being in the presence of a church full of people like that, it validates everything that they're doing in their home parishes, and it gives them the spirit, the will to go back to their parishes and help to enliven their parishes too. They take it back with them. We experience it when we, as pastoral musicians, participate in the National Association of Pastoral Musicians conventions each year where there are thousands from all over the country who gather and experience that as a whole. And we try to bring that back here to our diocese and spread it to the people who cannot attend those conferences. And to do something like this gives them the opportunity here in our cathedral, where they don't often get to worship, and to come together and then spread that through the diocese.
David, I think quite often we take for granted the role that music does play in the church. And I really do believe that there would be a giant void in our celebration of Eucharist if we didn't have music to accompany everything that's going on. Why do you feel so strongly about the role that music does play in our celebration of liturgy?
Well, I believe it's attributed to St. Augustine, the phrase that he or she who sings prays twice. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, and the fact that singing, sung participation at Mass is both right and left brain, that we're bringing all of ourselves into the liturgy, more than just speaking a response, but really kind of putting forth our thoughts and emotions and expressing our prayer, our praise to God through singing. And that's why I think singing the Mass is really entering more deeply into the experience of the Church's liturgy.
Doreen, when you think about the many services that you celebrate at your own parish in Wilkes-Barre, can you imagine going through these services without the accompaniment of music, cantors, musicians?
Oh, not at all. To me, when I walk into a church and there's no music at all, it feels like it's almost not a liturgy, because right from the basis of the church documents, the music is integral to the liturgy. It's supposed to be there. And so many of the parts of the liturgy were absolutely meant to be sung. And when they're not sung, it just falls flat. It's missing.
David, over the last several weeks, I've noticed through your Office for Parish Life, in particular, your particular Office for Worship, there have been a number of training sessions using this new liturgical ministry resource. Tell me a little bit about that and what its primary mission is.
Well, Dan, over the course of the years, the Diocese has done a lot of trainings specifically for the ministry of Extraordinary Ministers of Communion, that anyone looking to serve in that ministry, that capacity in their parish had to go through diocesan training. That training hasn't been offered as widespread as we would like it to be, and has been offered as much as probably needed to be. So this resource was designed to help not only that particular liturgical ministry, but other ministries in our churches, including cantors, lectors, altar servers, ministers of hospitality, ministers of liturgical environment, and really putting together something that parish leaders, whether it be the pastor or the deacon or even lay leaders in the parish, can train volunteers in their parishes for these particular ministries in service of the liturgy in the church. So, it's more than just a practical training, but it provides the theology, the formation, the history behind the ministry, some practical guidelines. So just a resource to kind of cover all the basics to provide training for liturgical ministers in their parishes.
Doreen, when you look at training sessions like this, where, for example, music ministers have an opportunity to get together and kind of fine-tune their skills, why do you think it's so important that we do provide resources like this for them?
It keeps us very connected to what the church is teaching. And if we go off on our own and every parish does their own thing, we're going to start to stray. It may be wonderful, but we're going to start to stray a little bit from what the church is teaching. So to have something like what Dave is putting together so that we stay connected to what the church wants us to do, it helps. And it also gives a chance when we come together for training sessions to share with each other. And you kind of feel that what's going on in your parish is also going on other places. And I've noticed that when we meet together, and we have friends in the West Coast, the East Coast, all over the place when we meet together at the conventions, and we say, wow, it's not just happening in Wilkes-Barre and in Scranton, it's happening in South Dakota, and it's happening in Florida, and it gives you a chance. Well, that happens on the diocesan level too when we gather for the training sessions, because we see that no, it's not just happening in Our Lady of Fatima, or it's not just happening in St. John's, wherever. It's happening everywhere. And so that when Dave puts together a resource like this that we can train together, we can try to keep it close to what the church wants us to do.
In your particular case, I look at Our Lady of Fatima Parish, and I've had the benefit over the years doing stories down there, and I know that you're blessed with a rich music ministry program. That isn't always necessarily the case for other parishes across our diocese, and I think sometimes the biggest challenge is getting people who are maybe a little bit on the timid side to step forward and say, I'd like to get involved in music ministry. I hear them in my own parish. I hear them singing behind me. I know they have incredible talent, incredible voices. David, what do you think it is? What is the secret to getting people motivated to take that step forward and say, yes, I'd like to be a cantor or a member of the choir or maybe a musician?
Well, Dan, that's kind of the million-dollar question that I'm asked a lot, and if I just had, just the handbook of the top 10 ways to get people to do that. So it is a complicated question. I sincerely believe there's a couple things involved. First of all, as Doreen is blessed with a wonderful music ministry, I think if the music ministry in a parish is strong and vibrant, that it will naturally draw the volunteers to the ministry. So I think if something is attractive and appeals to a lot of people and is inspiring, that that magnetism is already there to draw people into the ministry. Also, I firmly believe in the personal invitation. I know a lot of parishes will put bulletin announcements trying to get volunteers for their music ministry or any ministry in the parish, but that personal invitation from either a choir member or a cantor for someone else who may have the potential gifts, that personal invitation to invite them into the ministry and to experience what it's all about is really key. Also, testimony, someone sharing what this participation in this ministry has meant to them might strike a chord with someone in the pew who hears that testimony or reads about it and say, wow, I kind of feel the same way and I think I want to give back, just as this person is doing. So I would say those are the top three things that are kind of key as far as drawing new members into music ministry, but it would apply to any liturgical ministry as well.
Doreen, all of what David is saying, does it pretty much resonate with you when you think about the work that you and your husband are doing at Our Lady of Fatima Parish? And I know that you put your heart and soul into trying to keep a vibrant music ministry. Why is it that your parish in particular seems to do it and do it well?
Much of what Dave said is very true, all of it actually. But I think it's an attitude in the parish as well that you have to develop, that the people have to claim ownership, that this is their parish, and we have to realize that they've been given gifts and there's a need to share the gifts that they've been given with each other and for God's glory. And so that when they start to feel that they have a place to belong at that church and that they can share those gifts, I think that's a big part of it. It goes hand in hand with what he's saying, but that personal invitation, I found that most of our people, and not even necessarily from the music director, oftentimes it's a friend saying, come on with me, be a part of this. And there are often people, like you said, that sit in the pews that you hear them and they're wonderfully voiced, and you want them to be upstairs or wherever your ministry is, and you say, please, and sometimes it takes the person that's a choir member to talk to them and say, come try it out.
On Sunday, October 18th, hundreds of young men and women representing Catholic schools and parishes from across the diocese gathered here at St. Peter's Cathedral to take part in the annual celebration of World Mission Sunday. In our next segment, we'd like to share with you some highlights from that service, which showcase the fact that through baptism, each of us are called to be missionaries of faith.
Welcome to St. Peter's Cathedral for the pontifical celebration of World Mission Sunday. Here in the Diocese of Scranton, we join Catholics worldwide as missionary disciples, uniting in word and sacrament to celebrate the hope that saves, Jesus himself. As we gather in our solidarity with our Holy Father, Pope Francis, and all the mission churches around the world, we reflect on this year's theme. It's our world on mission. It is our call to share in the joy of the gospel through our prayers, sacrifices, and donations, ever conscious of the great needs of those who serve in mission lands.
My brothers and sisters, welcome to St. Peter's Cathedral this wonderful October afternoon as we join together with one another from all over this great Diocese of Scranton to celebrate World Mission Sunday. It is such a wonderful experience for me to be able to stand in a pretty good seat in the house, don't you agree? And I get to look out at all of you, especially young women and men from our parishes and our schools who give life to what we celebrate today, who are our hope today as great witnesses to the gospel, as missionaries right now in whatever circumstance and situation that you find yourselves. And also, you're a great hope for our future as you grow and continue to take the great gift of Jesus in your hearts and spread it and live it to the world in which we live.
My dear friends, it is important. It is a day in which we truly look at identity as Christians and ask ourselves, who are we? Sometimes when we talk about missions, honestly, people only looking at people in religious orders and so on. But as the bishop rightly expressed in the brochure that you have there, look at the back. Mission is for all of us. We are called to do mission. The church is missionary in nature. That is why today we are celebrating who we are. Who we are. I'm so happy that you're able to bring young people today because, my friends, all the young people, listen to me. You are the future of the Catholic Church. You are the future of the world. Believe me, like the Pope came here, he wanted all of you to really think about your vocation in life. My friends, as I'm going to share with you, we have a lot of vocations in Africa. The African kids, they are just like you. But I want to tell you, honestly, the missionaries that God sent through you to us made us to love the ministry of the priesthood. Many of our convents, like I wish to share, filled with young, beautiful girls who want to become nuns. I want you to know, all of you young people, believe me, for being here, your parents have done their duty. They have consecrated you to God. They made God to be meaningful to you. They have taken into what we normally say in our Catholic teaching, that parents are the primary teachers of their children. And parents, I want to thank you. I truly mean it. For letting these children know that God matters. You see, we live in a culture today, everybody say, white life matters, black life matters, police life matters. You know what matters? God. God. If we put God at the center of our lives, trust me, things will change in our nation. Things will change in the world. Things will change in the way we look at each other. God. That is why I thank you for giving God to your children. Not very long ago, in Africa, we were living in darkness. We did not know about Jesus Christ. And yet you sent your sons and daughters across the Atlantic Ocean to bring Christianity to us. I am very happy to tell you that the seed sown by those wonderful, courageous missionaries in Africa had yielded plenty of fruits. So much so that today, in Nigeria, every Sunday, our churches are filled from the vestibule to the sanctuary. Our seminaries are filled with many young men who want to become Roman Catholic priests. Our convents are filled with young, beautiful girls who want to give themselves to God in the religious life as nuns. In fact, in Nigeria, every year, hundreds of young men are ordained into the Catholic priesthood. So much so that today, we are sending out priests to so many countries of the world. My dear friends, some of you have seen African masses. Some of you have seen Nigerian mass. Believe me, in Nigeria, the shortest mass is 3 hours long. But don't worry, I'm not going there. I'm not going there today. But why is it 3 hours long? It's not because the priests want to. Believe it or not, the people of God, as soon as the priests start processing, they look at the priest and say, Father, don't rush us. The people come here, number one, to express the joy, but also to pour their hearts to God. The church is not a place you rush to. By the way, we don't go to counseling in Nigeria. You don't go to psychologists. We don't have those things. The church is where you pour your heart to God. The church is where you ask God to heal you. The church is where you tell God, fix my mental problem, fix my sadness. Lord, I am very depressed. I need you to take away my depression. And you know what? It works for us. That is the reason I'm challenging all of you young people. God is calling you, maybe not to be a nun, not to be a priest, but you know what? If you stay in school, avoid evil, avoid drugs, avoid gangs, listen to your parents. Who knows? If you stay in school and then succeed, maybe you are going to be the one who is going to find vaccine for malaria and help us in Africa. Maybe you are going to be the one to find a final end to Ebola. Maybe you are going to be the one to help the children in Africa all to be educated. My dear friends, in one way or the other, God can use us as missionaries. And I know for those of you who cannot go to mission, what you do when missionaries come here, believe me, even 1 penny that you give can buy a loaf of bread for a child. Whatever you do, trust me, it does not go to waste. I truly want to thank God for you. I thank God for who you are. I thank the bishop for opening this diocese for you guys to receive missionaries. I thank those in the missions office because it's not easy what you are doing. But the Lord is with you. I want all of us to be happy in this country. I want you to be joyful. Don't get into negative politics. See the hand of God here. God has blessed America because of people like you, because of your generosity of heart. It is not about the millions. It is just about the simple people like you who open their heart and care for others. My dear friends, that is what love means. Love is action. Love is not what we talk about. Love is what we do. And you guys have done this in a very powerful way. So I'm standing here on behalf of all the missionaries to say thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for sharing your blessings with those who do not have. Thank you for being Roman Catholics. Thank you for not allowing anything, whether negative things written in the newspapers against the priests, against the bishops, against the church, allow that to take you away from the church. Thank you for staying. Because there are many people who have left the church because of negative comments. But remember, the Catholic Church is not what people write in the newspapers. The Catholic Church is not the negative things people write. The Catholic Church is not made by man. The Catholic Church is made by Jesus Christ, who looked at Simon Peter and said to him, "You are Peter, you are the rock, and on this rock I build my church, and the powers of hell and the powers of the underneath will not be able to destroy that church." That is the Catholic Church. That is who we are. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being Catholics. And thank you for all your love and kindness for us in third world countries. God bless you.
Holy Redeemer High School, Wilkes-Barre, Gabriella Tomasura. St. John Newman High School, Williamsport, Faith Reed. Our Lady of Peace School, Clark's Green, Nadja Tomaszewski.
As we bring this wonderful celebration to a close, Deacon Ed acknowledged a whole lot of you, but I simply want to say to Father Elston, who joins us, to all of the deacons and priests, the religious and the faithful from many, many schools around this diocese and many, many parishes, parish religious education programs, and all of you who represent the church at mission and very much alive in our 11 counties. Thank you. Thank you not just for being here today. That's important, and it's a great witness. But thank you most especially to all that you do and all that you are as you proclaim your faith by the lives that you lead and as you live as missionaries through the love and the compassion that you share both near and far in a world that so very much needs to experience it.
That's all the time we have for now. On behalf of the staff here at Catholic Television, I'd like to thank you for joining us today and invite you to tune us in again next month for our next edition of Our Faith, Our Diocese. Until then, I'm Dan Gallagher, wishing you a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving.